Well, throughout church history, going back into the apostolic times, back to the islands of Crete in the first century world, you had what you could call holiness movements. Those that believed they just had a corner on spirituality. They were pure, and they looked down on those that just struggled to clean up their act sufficiently to be considered worthy of God. Now, the Apostle Paul has confronted this kind of false teaching in many portions of the New Testament. We've looked at 1st and 2nd Corinthians. We looked at Jude, obviously a different author. Here in Titus, Paul again is concerned about those that were coming up with a form of teaching that drew upon the Old Testament, drew upon the Jewish law, and basically twisted it into another gospel. And so what I want us to meditate on now for the next few minutes is how we too have a tendency to gravitate toward a kind of purity that is supposedly the gospel of grace. Very simply put, what Paul is arguing here is that there needs to be elders appointed in the various churches on the island of Crete because the truth of radical grace has been in danger of replacement with the law. The law as it is understood through the Old Testament. But remember that the Old Testament, the moral law, the ceremonial law, and the judicial laws have been fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And so we don't believe that we purify ourselves. We don't engage in behavior management in order to justify ourselves before God. That is a message from the pit of hell. It is something that needs to be rebuked sharply from the pulpit, rebuked sharply within the church. Any kind of heresy throughout church history, going back to the island of Crete, comes back to that lie, the lie of Satan, east of Eden, that man gets to determine the terms of the covenant with God. Man wants to usurp God. Man wants to be equal with God. Man wants to dominate God. And so because we have an ego, we struggle to accept a gift freely from God. Because our ego likes to think we have something to contribute, and we don't. And so, beloved, let us consider Paul's words this morning. Let us consider the knowledge of truth. Let us consider the word that is preached, that's being preached even right now, which is intended to guide us back on the way of the gospel. So I have 2 points for you. The first, very simply, is appoint elders. The second is to protect the truth.